Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, June 7th meeting of the Board of Park Commissioners. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Here.
Mr. Fox?
Here.
Mrs. Pierce? Here. All members of the board are present.
Thank you. Very professionally done, by the way.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we have our minutes of our May 3rd meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions to those minutes?
No?
We do have the minutes, right?
Second page.
I read them. There they are, yeah. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
They are approved. Reports, Mr. Drake, good morning.
Morning.
Do you have anything to add to your report, sir?
Just a couple of things. One, the finishing touches are continuing to go on at Treasure Island, as you can imagine. Was just out there this morning, and things are coming along really nicely. Asphalt, the final course of asphalt should be going down, if not today, very, very soon. And my crew's pretty much dedicated to doing some of the finish up work there this week. So looks really, really nice, and I think everybody will be pleasantly surprised and pleased this weekend.
Good.
Also, just want to publicly thank my staff. We've had an extremely busy spring, one of the busiest I can remember. Had a lot of consecutive weekends with events going on, and everybody's worked really, really hard, and we've gotten a lot accomplished, and I just really appreciate all their efforts and the work that they've put into everything that we've had to do this spring. So really appreciate that. I want to thank them.
Any questions of Mr. Drake? Jeremy, I did see that in your report you indicated you responded to 2 tree calls after hours. Can you kind of elaborate on
Yeah,
that?
so we've always, I'm on the call-out list anytime there's a street tree that goes down for whatever failure, usually wind-related or storm-related. I'll get a call from the dispatch center, and then I'll go out and assess whatever needs to be done, whatever crew needs to be called in. And we did have 2 of those, pretty much one week right after the other. One was at about 7 o'clock in the evening. Branch came down in the street, and then it was last week, about a week later, we had a whole tree uproot and go all the way across the street on Tamplin. So we responded to those and got those cleaned up.
Does the street department not respond to those?
They don't. So ever since we've had our bucket truck, they found more and more they were getting into situations where they had to call a bucket in anyway if the tree was caught up or still up in the air. So we've been responding to those for several years now.
Okay, thank you.
That actually brought up a question I had about the trees in between. So you take care of the trees in between the sidewalk and the road, right?
Correct.
Is it our job to monitor if they're like blocking a stop sign or anything like that?
We don't necessarily monitor, but we do take calls as they come in. If you see any or anybody sees any obstructions to stop signs, any obstructions to the right-of-way, to the sidewalk, to the street, if they let us know, then we do take care of those, get them out of the right-of-way, clear the stop signs and so forth.
Okay, because I had one where with the Strawberry Festival detour, I was
Okay.
going down Grant Street. I never go down Grant Street, and I almost ran the stop sign a couple
Okay.
times over the weekend. It was Grant and either Drury or Simpson,
Okay.
whatever that intersection is.
Going which way?
If you're heading, let's see, if you're heading from McKeag, so,
So we're going
south, south on Grant, Drury or Simpson, one of those two has a stop sign, and there's a tree up there, and I knew about it. I slammed on my brakes the day before,
Yeah.
and the next day, same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. I almost missed it again. So
Yeah.
that tree was kind of
Okay.
blocking it a
We'll
little
check
bit.
that out. I'll take care of those.
If you want to put down another one.
Go
At
ahead.
the corner of Ridge and Wayne,
Okay.
down at the bottom of the hill.
Coming down the hill.
Yeah, there's honeysuckle just grows like crazy
Okay.
and is blocking the vision from the stop sign on oncoming traffic to the right.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
I'm afraid the one that I suggested, it may cause an issue because it looks like a new tree that was
Okay.
fairly well planted.
Okay.
So I could see someone potentially being upset if
Sure.
there's trimming on
Well,
that
I
one.
work really closely with the homeowners to keep them informed of what's going to happen when we have those issues. So it's fairly common.
Are they're the homeowner's tree or?
It's actually city trees because it's in the city right away. we also, one of the calls we had was actually a private tree that fell into the right-of-way, so it's still our responsibility to get the right-of-way open.
So it wouldn't be that the homeowner planted that tree out there, that new tree? Potentially?
That happens.
Okay.
It depends. As part of our tree ordinance, we want them to be 25 feet from the corner, 25 feet from the stop signs. If we planted it, it would be that or more. So sometimes they pop up,
Okay.
homeowners will plant them in the curb lawn. So I'll have to look at that when we get out there.
We have to may have to have some communications with the homeowner.
Yeah.
Particularly if you
For
have to
sure.
really trim that tree back.
Mhm.
How'd the levy go with the festival?
Actually, I was just up there, just came from there, and it looks really, really well, really, really good. The east end, of course, where most of the activity was, is a little compacted. The grass is browned out a little bit, but I'd say within a week or so, you would barely be able to tell we had a festival. The cleanup crews did a really, really good job. Very little ground litter this year, and just overall went really, really well.
Any other questions of Mr. Drake? Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Mr. Seiler, good morning.
Good morning.
Do you have anything to add to your report?
Just we've had a good start to the pool season so far. We're up about $5,500 in daily admissions in comparison to where we were at the same time last year at this time. And our memberships are also, we've already surpassed where we were last year in total. We're at 420 season passes sold to date, and last year we topped out at 414, so that's a good sign that we're already beyond that. We typically continue to sell memberships through usually around the end of June, so we should still see a good number of those coming in yet throughout the next several weeks. And our summer ice started yesterday, and we'll end with the Troy Skating Club Summer Competition on July the 10th.
Mr. Drake talked about the Treasure Island. You've got 3 bands coming in this summer to Treasure Island, right?
Yes, we're working
How's
on
those
the
going?
event schedule currently and all the logistics that will need to go into, planning for those events. It's maybe more of a challenge than doing the events at the arena, just because we became accustomed to what all was needed to do that. So doing it at a new venue has been a little bit of a challenge, just working through all those logistics, but they're coming together.
Good. Well, good luck on those. Any questions of Mr. Seiler? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Green, good morning to you. You have a report to add to your written report.
Just that we held the Troy Strawberry Festival Junior Golf Tournament this past weekend on Sunday, and had a light turnout this year. Despite having a sponsor this year, because we had the Troy Noon Optimists that actually sponsored the tournament this year.
Do you have their flag?
No, we do
Their
not.
banner?
No,
Okay.
that would be nice if we did, because we could put it up there.
Well, the Optimist Club's lost their banner. Apparently, they didn't have one for their booth either downtown.
Yeah, no, I didn't have anything to put out
Okay.
for them.
All right.
Of course, we did this kind of at a late date, so we didn't get a lot of publicity about it. We did put it in the paper. I did call every golf coach to let them know what we were doing, that the only fee that would be collected from any of the entries was just for their registration fee of $10, because they were going to pay all the green fees of everybody, the first 40, and also bought them all lunch. So maybe next year we'll get that out ahead of time. Hope it'll help maybe get some more kids out there, but, it's still a pretty poor turnout, I think,
Yeah.
considering it didn't cost them anything.
Right.
And I know there was some that had different things going on, but you would think, being on a golf team, that you would want to play in any competitive event that you could, and especially a local one, but we only had 10 of the kids, and 2 of them were from out of town, so they weren't even part of the high school golf teams here.
This was this past weekend.
Right.
The problem you have is, of course,
I know.
they're at the Strawberry Festival, many of the booths, many of them, and the Strawberry Festival Soccer Parents Association
True.
has put the tournament on a different weekend, just for one of those reasons. So
Well,
you may want to think about that.
we changed the date this year for the first time. We had always had it 2 weeks earlier.
Oh,
trying to, get into a later date where the kids were out of school, maybe had time to practice.
Right.
Because I heard that as a complaint from someone, well, I haven't even hit a ball this year, I know I'm gonna play in a tournament before I even have a chance to practice. So we moved it back this year on purpose, a couple of weeks, to see if that would help, but it didn't. And I didn't get one girl signed up.
Hmm.
And, the girls' golf team they've always been pretty avid, but you couldn't get one of them to sign up.
That'll be right.
And, when it's only gonna cost you $10, you get a free lunch, I don't know what more they could want in a competition, But hopefully next year, we'll advertise it more about not having to pay green fees, and at least the first 40, we're gonna guarantee,
Mhm.
and maybe that'll get some more people in it, but, they had a great day to play, had a little bit of rain starting out, and that was it. And by the way, Holden Scribner won it with a 73, which on that day was really a good score, because it was really windy.
Was that for 9 holes?
No, it's for 18 holes.
Really? I usually shoot a 73 for 9 holes.
Yeah, right. And so, we had some good players playing. Peyton Wheat was second with a 76, so we got some good players out there. And it's a shame that we can't get a little more competition for them, but we'll keep trying.
Anything else, Mr. Green?
That's all for now.
Any questions for Mr. Green? Okay, thank you. I don't have any planning commission report to give to the park board. As far as matters, Mrs. Knight, I know you have a role already playing in this meeting. Could you get me up to date on the excess real estate for sale, in particular the Pam Kane property? Do you have
Right.
anything on that?
Valerie and I were working on that before she went on her vacation, and we're finishing it up when she gets back.
Okay, all right. As soon as you have any status on that, let me know.
With-
She's been real patient.
Right.
I know that she's looked at it for over a year, so, okay.
Is there any background on that, or?
Oh, well, this is a piece of property that is behind Concord Schools, Stone Bridge subdivisions on the other side.
Side of it,
Please?
going the side of the school area.
Right, on the
school
side of
property,
School.
yes.
But they live
Yeah.
off Washington Road. And we have some park property which has been donated to us by the developer of Stonebridge. And part of that park property, I believe they built their pond on it unknowingly. And they're also concerned about people using that park property for parties and things like that, using their pond, and they'd like to go ahead and buy that. Of course, we can't just directly sell it to them. We have to use it as excess property and offer it for sale to anybody who wants to buy it. But they're interested in purchasing that, so that's what that's all about. Okay. Mr. Davy, are you here to make a presentation? Okay. Would you like to make the presentation? We have a member of the Troy Newton Optus Club here to make a presentation concerning their walk of remembrance that they'd like to place upon park property. Mr. Davy, if you'd come forward, give your name and address, please.
I'm Rob Davey. My address is 1640 Surrey Road in Troy. The Optimus Club is trying to start another flag program. We have the Avenue flags we've had for several years now, and we have nothing. We currently aren't displaying the flags over the September 11th holiday. So we've developed an idea to utilize the flags where we aren't putting them out in people's yards this time, but doing one larger display of all the flags in one location. After scouting around the town, the location we've come up with would be to put them along the upper section of the levee bank behind Hobart Arena and the football field. We're proposing to put up 120 flags on the north side of the sidewalk every 15 feet. And then they would be up for 1 week's time and then come down right at the day after September 11th on the 12th.
So this would be in commemoration of 9/11,
Yes.
basically is what happens. And it would not be, this is a community service
Yes,
by
it's
the Optimus Club?
free of charge.
Okay.
It's just going to be out there for everyone to come and see, and hopefully draw some people to the levee bank just to kind of walk through the flags and see it.
Mr. Drake, do you see any problem with that?
Not at all. It's a great idea.
There would be permanent additions to the levee, but they would be underground about
Yeah,
so much.
A metal sleeve that'll be driven into the ground, flush to the dirt line. So
We'll need to notify Oops to have utilities marked. I don't foresee that being a problem, because they only go in 12 inches or so.
As far as mowing, we can mow before that happens?
Yeah, I was
So
just-
that we don't have to mow around?
Right, just looked at the 6th is a Tuesday,
Yes.
so we can plan to mow the entire levee that week on a Monday.
Well, Monday's the Labor Day.
Oh, that's Labor Day, so we'll mow, I can make it happen to where we mow early enough in the morning before you guys get there.
And we can put them out Tuesday. I have a schedule for afternoon to put them out.
Yeah,
so.
that would be perfect, and that way it's already taken care of and already mowed by the time you guys get there. I think it's a great idea.
Any questions of Mr. Davy?
I saw the email last night. It's just going to be on one side of it.
Just
It's not
one
going to be
s-
on both sides.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a concern that on the other side of the sidewalk, it's a Conservancy District property. It's Park Board property on the right side of the sidewalk, north side of the sidewalk. That's what they're asking for, is out in the area where it's not being traversed by the electrical boxes and all that sort of stuff. If you were to take a look at what was sent to us, it's this dark
Yep.
line
Okay.
here.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Everything would stay kind of behind the trees that way. If we got closer to the sidewalk, then all of the flags would get
Sure.
tangled up into the tree line, so.
Yeah, sounds great.
Any questions of Mr. Davy? Thank you, Mr. Davy. Mr. Terrington, you had a comment?
Yeah, only that we want to check the boundary line between Conservancy District property. It's not, if I recall, the last time I looked at it, it's not as clean in the entire levee that is directly behind the sidewalk. And I don't foresee an issue, but we want to keep them in the loop.
Sure.
As always.
Okay, will you get engineering involved in that then?
Or Stan, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Can I add a comment on that?
yeah, go ahead,
I
sir.
believe on the picture, there's a dotted line. If you look, that was, told me was the parcel line.
Well, we'll double check that, Mr. Davy. We'll double check that. Do we want to take any action on the request?
May I have a question?
Mrs. Knight?
The little holders, are those capped?
Yes. They're capped when the flags are not in use. Yeah, and everything would be ground level.
Okay, I just did not know that.
Yeah.
Are they just like the ones you put in people's yards? Is that what you're going to use?
Exact same ones.
Okay.
I'll submit a motion to approve this request per the Conservancy District. Okay. Check.
Okay, sure. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Please call the roll, Mrs. Knight.
Mrs. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
I'll have to abstain as a member of the Optimist Club. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Davy. If you will convey that to the Optimist Club. Mr. Titterington, did you have anything else to come before the commission, please? Mrs. Knight, did you want to discuss anything
No,
else?
sir.
The commissioners have anything they want to talk about?
Yeah, I had just a couple notes on Strawberry Festival
Go ahead.
and possibly some comments. One thing I did notice was during the soccer tournament 2 weeks prior, I think, there was a motorhome at Archer on Sunday morning at 7:15 a.m. and they were at that point they were getting ready and packing up and leaving, so they spent the night. It was obvious that they had spent the night there, so
Really?
I don't know the rules on that, but it was just kind of one thing I wanted to bring up to attention, and maybe someone who could speak more on that.
Well, our parks close at 11,
11.
and if there's anybody in there overnight,
Yeah, I don't know on that particular one. I know that some of the organizers stay at Duke Park. They do bring a trailer in, and that's because of the tents, the golf cart equipment, they actually stay there on site. I don't know about Archer, if that was an organizer, part of that team, or maybe just somebody that was from out of town staying. I wasn't aware that there was a motorhome there, so.
easiest thing to
Something
do
we
is just
can-
call the police and have them
Yeah.
enforce the...
Well, yeah, they were
Oh,
done
yeah.
by the time
Okay.
I got out here, and
Yeah.
they were moved, but I didn't know maybe they had already had approval. It was just one thing, I didn't know if that was a common practice.
I'm not aware of that one. You will notice, like I said, Duke Park at shelter number 4, at the main restroom shelter, there's usually one trailer that sits there during that weekend. But other than that, I don't know of any prior approval, so.
My suggestion to you is you make sure you get Jeremy's cell phone number And then if you have any questions like that, give Jeremy
Yeah.
a call. He'll know if there's any been permission been granted.
Sure.
And if not, then we can just call the police and have
Right.
them vacate.
Is that something we should communicate to the Strawberry, the organizer of the soccer tournament, that, hey, just make sure you let the teams know, no overnight stay in the
Okay.
parks?
Yeah, this year was organized in the last several years by David Pappas, and he's usually really, really good about letting me know ahead of time, and that wasn't communicated, so I suspect it was probably somebody from out of town.
Okay. Then I was out in Duke and Archer the same weekend, and I know that there's going to be people that leave trash, but one thing, when I played softball in other parks in other cities, there was every team you agree to, hey, if you leave any trash, your team's gonna be fined $20, $25. Did they ever really enforce it? Probably not, but I did notice a lot of trash on Saturday night and Sunday morning in Duke and Archer when I was out there. So if that was another thing with the teams that they knew, there's a lot of golf carts riding around there all the time. They could easily swoop through where the teams were, the benches, and just check that. If we put that into their when they're signing up, that your team might be fined, whether or not it's really enforced. But it did get us as a softball team to make sure, whether it was our trash or not, we cleaned out the dugout every time we left there, just to make sure that the park looked good. Because there's out of town people who may have never been to any of our parks before, so to have the trash out of there.
That's a good point for between games. I can't comment on that. I can say that at the end of the weekend, they do a really, really good job and have for the past several years of going around and picking up all the ground litter, and they have dumpsters brought in, and by Monday morning, my guys don't have to touch any ground litter because they do a really, really good job of making sure that's all picked up. So I see what you're saying for sure between games and keeping it looking clean through the day, each day.
Yeah.
I'm not as aware of because I'm not out there a whole lot during the weekend. But I do know by Monday morning, they do a really, really nice job.
Well, who coordinates with the Strawberry Festival? Is it you or Ken?
It's kind of both,
On the
actually.
tournament.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and put those two items that Levi mentioned down on your list to discuss with him? Maybe have like a little exit interview for this past tournament
Sure.
about the taking care of the trash between the games, and also motor vehicle parking
Yes.
overnight.
We'll definitely do that. Thank you for those. Anything
Yeah.
else?
Absolutely. I just had one other question. Was on Saturday this weekend, I noticed the entrance to the city park was closed during the day. And I saw the 10K run was there on Sunday morning, but why was it closed on Saturday?
I'm not sure. I believe the police department, or maybe Mr. Terry can kind of answer here.
Yeah, well, you're on the right track. We deliberately closed the entrance to the park because we don't want cars parking there and crossing the street to get to the levee for the festival, because that is the only bridge that's available to cross from one side of town to the other.
It's a safety
With
issue.
the North Market Street being closed.
Okay, yeah, I figured there was some reason for it. Just curious.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Those are my three things.
Good, thank you very much. Hearing nothing else, we do have a request to go into executive session to discuss personnel.
You must be specific as to what it is, like the appointment, discipline or something like that of a public employee. It has to be that specific, not by name, but
It's mainly to designate somebody to be be certified in food safety. Because there are new rules coming out.
I'm not sure that's.
I don't know.
Executive session.
Well, that's what I told him. I wasn't sure if it all was. I just have a request of who I want to do it though.
Okay, well, we don't need to go into executive session for that.
Okay.
So, go ahead and, Mr. Green, you had a matter you want to bring before the commission.
Okay, as you can see in front of you, I gave you, excuse me, the Miami County Public Health Department has, beginning in March 1st of 2017, going to have some rule changes for food safety.
Mhm.
And one of them is the training of people on staff in the food facilities. And depending on what your level is, and we are a level 3 facility, you have to have at least one manager that has a level 2 certification in food safety and food protection. And we have to have that done by March 1st of 2017, so they're giving us plenty of time. I have an individual who's had that certification that works for us and has been working for us for about 13 years now, since I've been there. She's part-time, but she's willing to do this, again, because her certification just ran out, so she needs to redo it anyhow if she wants to maintain an independent business that she was doing before.
Okay.
And what I was wanting to ask is if we could have her become certified again, pay for the schooling, which is, the one would be August 22nd, or 23rd and 30th at the courthouse, which she is willing to do. And in turn, we would maybe give her a little bit more money per hour to take that responsibility.
Okay. How much does the training cost?
I think it's $100 or something like that. It's not great. I'll have to look it up again, because they didn't have it on here.
And what's the name?
Her name is Darlene Smith.
And what kind of increase are you talking about?
Well, she currently makes $9.05 an hour. She's been with us since 2006, or 2004, I'm sorry, my first year there. And what I would recommend that we give her at least $1 more, which would be $10.05 for next year.
How does
Again, this is
how does that hit your budget?
Well, I mean, we'd have to figure it in on the budget when we do it. I mean, we're talking about approximately 36 hours a week at $1 more. So if you multiply that times 4, that's about 146 or something like that.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
very
140.
frankly, Ken, I think, I, number one, appreciate you bringing this to our attention, but I think this is within your purview as superintendent out there to go ahead and hire and fire your employees, pay for training, do wages, as long as it falls within the budgetary items that we're talking about. I think you have the authority to go ahead and do that sort of stuff.
Well, I wanted to bring it to your attention so you were aware
Yeah, I
of it.
appreciate
because it is
that.
something new.
Yes.
And if I do this, obviously I want to have your permission to go ahead, and then when we do the budget with Mr. Terrington.
Right.
So that he would be aware of it too.
Good.
I mean, it's not a lot of money. I guess it's about $144 a month, so.
Well, we have to have somebody out there that's certified.
Right, we have to have somebody. And if she doesn't do it, then I'm going to have to get trained and do it. But she's been there a long time. She's already been through it, so I don't think it's a problem for her to pass it, because she already has. And she's willing to take on that responsibility. She just wants a little extra to do it.
Sure.
And I don't think $1 an hour more is a whole lot to ask,
Mhm.
even though I know our budget is not good. What are your?
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you work with Mr. Titterington on that?
Okay.
But I don't have any objection. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Once again, I appreciate you bringing it to our attention, but I think this is within your purview and authority.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else to come before the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second?
For a second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.